So, Luke, what did you think of Blade Runner 2049?
It was bland, it was boring, it was stale, it was flat, the color saturation was wonky, and the performances were terrible.
Well, they had no emotion.
Yes. Oh, you said 2049. Oh, 2049. Brilliant film. I loved every aspect of this film. I thought the performances were brilliant. Refer back to what I just said, except the opposite of all of that.
Oh, you mean not to put that in terms of the first Blade Runner movie?
Yes, I loved it all. It was just brilliant. The soundtrack, only thing I didn't love about it, the soundtrack could have been a little more.
I really like the soundtrack. I like it more than the original one, honestly. Just because I actually have half the soundtrack on my playlist. I listen to it all the time. I really like the soundtrack, but it's mostly because the way it's integrated with the rest of the film. Because if the first film was all about building atmosphere with production design and music, I think the music develops atmosphere even more. And especially when you see an IMAX and you hear that really loud bass that shakes your chair.
Yeah.
So cool. Like when they're flying to the LAPD building.
Yes, we both saw this in IMAX.
Same theater.
Same theater, same day, unplanned. We parked beside each other, unplanned
That
as
was
well.
weird.
Yes, I got to my car and I saw a pink fedora staring me in the face. Yeah, but the film was great. And seeing it in IMAX, I think if you want to see this film,
You must see it in IMAX. It's the only way you can see it.
yeah. Someone who does not like very strong opinions said to me, "This is the most visceral cinema experience I've ever had." And I was like, all right. Then I went and I was like, this is the most visceral cinema experience I've ever had.
It was, it's very strange. People say this movie's boring. It's very long.
Those people are stupid.
Yes, it's 2 hours, 45 minutes long, which when I heard that running time, I actually didn't think of it as long because Avengers 2 was 2 hours and 40 minutes. Batman v Superman was 2.5 hours. It's like, for me, a long movie is 3 hours plus.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings 3 is my favorite film, and Extended Edition is 4 hours and 20 minutes.
That's just absurd.
But it tells
Just Blaze.
It tells the story brilliantly. So I think I have no problem with long run times.
Neither do I. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Barry Lyndon. Yes, no one's heard of that movie, but it's 3 hours long, and if you think Blade Runner is a slow movie, that movie is even slower.
How long is Barry Lyndon?
Barry Lyndon is just over 3 hours. It's like basically 3 hours on the dot, 3 hours and 4 minutes, something like that.
Pathetic. But yeah. No, the runtime was fine. They told the story the way they needed to.
It didn't feel very long. Like for me, I've seen it twice. First time I watched it, it felt like an hour and a half movie. Like it flew by. Second time was a bit slower, but only in certain sections.
Yeah, and to clarify, I know we haven't summarized the plot or anything, and it's because they don't in the trailers. So if they don't want people to go in knowing the plot exactly.
If we're going to spoil something, we'll say spoilers.
Yeah, so we're not going to go into the plot because nothing is said about this plot in the trailers.
No, and that's very surprising. I went into this and there's actually a story.
Yeah,
which
there's a very good story.
It's a very good, simple story. And it's like, wow, it doesn't have, first Blade Runner doesn't have a story.
Yeah.
I'm seeing everywhere, like almost everyone's saying, greatest sequel ever made. And I think that's true. I think it's the best sequel of all time because it does everything a sequel has to, where it takes everything that works for the original, boost it up, and take everything that didn't work and make it better.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say greatest sequel of all time, but I think
so.
Looking back at the first film,
superior.
It really kind of makes it seem that much better. Not to discredit how much better it is. It is very, very brilliant. But because Blade Runner isn't that brilliant, it pushes it forward that much more.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Now, obviously, we both like this movie. It's, I think it's brilliant. It's easily my favorite movie of the year. But obviously, no movie is perfect, and it varies from person to person. So is there anything about the movie you didn't think worked, no matter how small?
Nothing that I didn't think... There was nothing that I didn't think worked.
Didn't work.
There's nothing that I didn't think did not work. But there are aspects of this film I would have liked to seen explored more. For example, the first film's setting of the gross, rainy, dark LA, I would have liked to see a little bit more of.
Basically modern day Detroit.
Fair enough, yeah.
Easy Detroit joke.
But I think with today's special effects, it would have been neat to see the original set a little more revisited, or like the sushi place that Harrison Ford is at, or like, I don't know.
Well, there's actually something interesting.
There are no hard throwbacks to the original in this. There's no hard like
everything that's like a semi-throwback is everything that would naturally have evolved.
And it's extremely relevant to the plot. Anything that is mentioned of the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're never like, there's a bloody nail on the ground that
They're never
Roy
like Rogue
put through
One,
his
where it's
hand.
just fan service.
Yeah, at no point does anybody go, you better watch yourself in this film. Like, yeah.
No lightsabers, which is a complete makes this movie's awful. No lightsabers.
Yeah.
0 out of 10. Yeah, I'm a similar opinion, where I think everything in this movie was very clear and very purposeful. Off the top of my head, there's 2 things I didn't like. I won't go into spoilers too much. Okay, it's 3 things I didn't like. But the first one is I did not like Robin Wright's performance. She was the only actor/actress in the movie that felt like an actor person.
Is she Jared Leto's person?
No, she's the LAPD head honcho man.
Oh, I thought she was good, but she was like police chief good.
She felt on the nose.
She felt every police chief ever who's mad at a subordinate.
It didn't feel it. While everyone else felt like a person, she felt like a character.
Yeah.
So it was very. Whenever she's on screen, she's like, I don't know. Can I just go into spoilers?
Save it. So
Okay, I'll try. So, but there's moments where she's like being intimidating, or like she's like, I have the upper hand, and she's like very like, hey, and it's very obvious. Like I felt it distracting. So I didn't like her performance.
Are you referencing the fact there is a fight scene at some point that she's involved with? Because that's not. I mean, there's a fight scene.
Yeah. But okay. That's I didn't like her performance.
Okay, fair enough.
Basically, that's it. Second thing I didn't like, and this is third thing I'll explain later because it's spoilers.
Yeah.
The second thing I didn't like, it only became apparent to me after the second time I watched it and after I thought about it, which means it's not a huge deal.
I've seen this film once. He's seen it twice.
Seen it twice. First time I watched it, I thought the movie was perfect. I had no problems with it, no qualms. Second time, the first time it went by really fast. Second time felt slightly slower, but only through certain sections. And the one section it felt really slow was when he goes to like the junkyard place outside of the city.
Yes. The one thing I do love about this movie is it expands upon the world, and we get to see more of the future world. And
Yeah.
I love the way that certain locations have played out, and they've expanded on, where it's not just like, oh, in the future everything is rainy and advertisements. There's more to the world than just that.
Yeah.
It's not just Coruscant, which
Coruscant's blown up now.
that was actually Hosnian Prime, which you would know if you read the expanded visual dictionary.
I can't read. But anyways, the reason I felt this section was boring, it was a slightly long section it has an action sequence in it that was really cool.
The action in this movie is very purposeful. It's very nice.
But the reason I didn't like this section, and this isn't really spoilers, but he goes there, and it wasn't very clear why.
Yeah, it's just like,
He kinda-
I'll check out this place.
He kind of goes there, and it's like he's there, and then stuff kind of happens. It wasn't very clear what was going on or why stuff happened the way it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one moment where it's like a plot hole, sort of. It wasn't everything else that happened in the movie was like very clear. It had a very good structure to it. This is the one time where it didn't really have a great structure to it, where it's like he just goes there for some weird reason I can't even really remember.
So Zach hates this film, but I understand.
Piece of
Love
shit.
it.
It's awful. Roger Deakins, you're a scam.
Hack Barad.
But that was the one moment of the movie I can remember being slightly slow. There was some stuff at the beginning that was a little slow, but that's because it was like setting up.
Yeah.
But that was the one moment in the movie that felt a little slow. But that was only the second time watching it. But that was a bit. Third thing I can get into later because it's slightly spoilerish, but that's also a very minor thing. Besides that, I thought everything else in this movie was damn near perfect.
Batista also acts in it.
Oh my God, yes.
He acts, which is very, very cool. Because when I was a kid, WWE my life.
That's wrestling, right?
And yes,
Is that where
WWE
that's
is-
where they're in tights
Yes,
and
yes.
they roll around to the ground.
Yes.
And then the ref's there to give
Batista
points.
wears a little red underwear. Later changed to black. But anyways, he retired from wrestling, and then he was Drax. Like, it's funny because Drax can be played by literally anybody.
It's funny because he doesn't get metaphors.
And then in this movie, he's like got some emotions, and it was cool.
Well, he does something that's difficult for any actor to get over, especially if they're famous. Is that he was in the movie, and I didn't see Batista.
Yes,
I didn't think, oh, it's Batista. I thought, oh my God, it's a
that's the
person.
craziest part, because if you grow up with Batista like I have, you see it and you're like,
Oh my God, tiny glasses.
wow, like this is a cool character. You're not like, this is a Batista.
Yeah, it's you believe him right away, which is very important. Considering he gets on screen very quickly and without very much introduction to his character.
Yeah.
But immediately you're invested in him.
Yeah.
And immediately you understand him and you like him.
And I think it was perfect casting. Just the way the scene worked, I think they couldn't have found a better actor.
Yeah, a lot of his. Have you seen any of the short films that were put up before this?
No.
So I think there was 3 short films that were put up before the movie. I've seen 2 of them. One was.
He's also directed by.
No. Denis Villeneuve went to 3 separate directors and asked them to make 3 separate short films in all their distinct styles.
Okay.
One was directed by Luke Scott. I don't remember what else he did, but he did one that talks about Jared Leto's character and some of his background.
Yeah, that's one issue I have with the film.
Okay, let me finish explaining this first. The second one was, I don't remember who did it. It was about Dave Bautista's character, a bit of background on him. The third one was about the blackout, which is not a spoiler. It was an anime, which is why I didn't watch it, because I don't like anime. I don't care what anyone says.
Racist.
Exactly. But that was all talking about the blackout. So it's just short films that give a bit of insight. Anyways, what were you saying?
No, the only thing I found is the guy, Jared Leto's character. What was his name?
Wallace.
Yes.
It was Neander Wallace.
Yeah. So David Wallace.
Wait, who's David Wallace? Like Wallace and Gromit?
So this Wallace character, he had. I understood his motive. I understood where he was coming from. He's the only character I felt could have used a little more backstory, and I'm not one of those people who's going to be like, well, it should have been in the film. You shouldn't have to do required reading to watch a film that should tell the whole story. I disagree, because if the director has chosen to use mediums to tell a story, that should be respected as part of the arc. So that's on me, but I think just going to this film, maybe for some people who are just going for a more general audience, they could use a little more backstory on him and kind of who he was and how it all happened.
Well, they explain in the opening crawl how he came the richest guy ever in existence, because he developed like synthetic farming and stuff like that, and basically saved the world. My one problem with him was that all of a sudden you're introduced to him, and all of a sudden he knows the entire plot of the story. He knows like the MacGuffin of the story right away, and I don't know how he knows this.
Bowl Cut Lady probably. I think Bowl Cut Lady knew it, and she reported back to HQ. There's a very cool guy in this film who I love, though. He's the albino guy. He's bald. He handles the archives.
Oh, like the nice little bald guy walking around.
He was good. He was good.
He was fun.
Every little side character in this film is very cool.
The guy in the scrapyard had way more character than I thought. It was like the twitching.
Every character in this film has way more character than you thought. But I think it is time that we delve into some spoilers. So before that, if anyone needs to leave now to watch the film, it's very, very good. I can't recommend it enough.
Yes, but if you don't want to spoil, watch it and then come back. Han Solo dies.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's Blade Runner. It's the original Blade Runner, but more. It takes what you love about the original, except makes it for people that want to watch a story. And it builds on everything.
It basically takes everything that was good about the original, makes it better, and takes everything that's bad and makes it good.
Yeah. So for some spoilers, Ryan Gosling's a replicant.
That's not a spoiler. He was immediately. You find that out first scene.
But you don't find that out in the trailers. So opening scene of this film, they're like, Ryan Gosling, a replicant detective.
Which is actually what the film is based off of, a short story that was written about a robot that hunts robots. So that's why it's like that.
Yeah, so it was very cool. I like how right off the bat they talk about that. And
it made it very clear that this is not the point.
there's not a stupid dream anywhere in this film to be found.
I don't even think there's a unicorn reference.
There is some origami, though, because guess who shows up?
Gaff.
Origami.
Origami.
Yeah. We found out his name was Gaff. But, yeah, Ryan Gosling needs to know about the bones they find, Rachel's bones.
We don't know it's Rachel's bones to begin with. We just find it was at Dave Bautista's. He goes because he's hunting replicants, and he shoots Dave Bautista after being thrown through a wall. So he kills him and then scans the place with his little drone, and then finds a box. And then they take the box out, has bones, and
bombarded with text messages. 3 people.
Oh, you're popular today.
All at once?
Oh my God.
How?
So anyways, after Science Guy examines the bones, he says, hey, she was pregnant. And then Ryan Gosling, who's not Science Guy, finds something that Science Guy didn't find.
Yeah, he says, what's pregnant mean?
What's pergonant? I don't know. So they find out he's pregnant, which is a huge deal, and that's basically the MacGuffin of the movie. Is that
no replicant has ever produced a child before,
and it's a huge concern for Ryan Gosling. There's a moment in the movie where he's talking to Robin Wright, and he says, "It would be tough for me to do this because I've never killed something that's been born before." Mm-hmm. So it's basically the whole point of the movie is trying to find who is the child that was born, because they didn't find the child's bones, so they know there's a child replicant that was born somewhere.
And the whole time, they kind of lead you to believe it's Ryan Gosling.
It's very clear that that's what they're going for.
And then it's like geniusly kind of not. It's like
it's built up so much to be him, and it makes sense that it's not him in the story that they make. It's not like it's like, oh, all of a sudden this happens. It makes sense.
They kind of hint that there was 2 of them, but one wasn't actually. Yeah. One was like a clone of the other one to disguise it or something.
Yeah, because they scrambled the records.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was when he actually finds out that he's not the replicant, like when the rebellious people, all the rebellious replicants come in. That's one scene I didn't like. Was that scene? Because I feel like it would have been way more effective if the lady said, "Oh, yeah, it's a girl," and then that's where the scene basically ends. And he sits down quietly, realizing it. I didn't like it that she just kept explaining it. It's like, "Oh, you thought it was you? Oh, that's funny. We all wish it was us." I didn't like that.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't like the rebellion aspect. I was
gonna say the entire storyline. You're just kind of like, that feels a little like he was writing it, and he knew there were more replicants, and they went, okay, well, there's a lot of them. We referenced rebellions in the first film. How about another one? And then they just needed something for all of them to do.
Well, it makes sense. Like I'm really happy they had the rebellion as like a small part, wasn't part of the story.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, this is a thing that happens in this world.
It's just I didn't feel like it. I'm fine with the rebellion being there. It's just that scene where they're all there. I didn't like the way the scene was done because it was like, this is our goal. This is our purpose. We're these people. Oh, you thought it was you? I felt like the scene could have been so much more impactful, especially when it's like showing like it's the twist of the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been done more impactfully. Now, the best part about this movie, well, one of the best parts, there's so many great parts, is the special effects. This movie somehow revolutionized special effects again, which no one will notice because they're so used to it.
It was flawless.
Well, actually, the special effects behind this movie is very interesting. There was like 0 green screen at all. I don't know how they did that replicant 3-way scene, but you know, like when there's the giant pink hologram lady.
Yeah.
Do you know how they did that? That was actual projection that they had, and all the light that's on Ryan Gosling's face is actually from the projected hologram.
That's cool. So
it wasn't CGI.
They used like the hologram, like Michael Jackson type thing.
I don't know how they did it specifically, but I know it wasn't
Tupac
pure
or whatever it
CGI. I know that all the light on Ryan Gosling's face came from what he was looking at, which was the CGI. Whether or not it was like just projection on a wall, but the light source came from the CGI, which wasn't CGI.
Yeah.
But the CGI was so incredible, like it was seamless, and like when he was flying through the city into like the LAPD building, that was actually models, not CGI. That was cool. Models.
I liked how what's his name's building.
Wallace's building.
Wallace's building
was so huge.
It was directly behind the Tyrell building.
It's like so.
You fly past it. It's like wow, wow.
It's so massive.
The exact same thing, but way bigger.
It's like, oh, it kind of made me laugh a little bit. It's so huge.
Yeah. No, but the visual effects in this film are like, or special effects are.
They're revolutionary.
I thought the ones in Rogue One, excluding Grand Moff Tarkin, like the starships in the space battle, I thought
they looked really good.
I couldn't tell if they were miniatures or not.
Yeah.
But with this, it's even more.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But that three-way replicant scene, which yes, there is a replicant three-way in this movie, was my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And B, I don't know how the hell they did that.
I wouldn't call it a three-way because only.
That's what everyone's calling it, but
Yeah, but I mean, if you're watching this, you've seen the film or just want to know more about it. But like how his hologram fake girlfriend moves with the prostitute.
Yeah.
It was such a genius idea because he wanted to experience the physical interaction of being with
Yeah.
his hologram girlfriend.
But you know what my favorite part of that whole scene is? That it's like their faces are merged, but their face like popped in and out.
They were
like
interchanging depending on the position of who
but
was
it's not like oh, it's one face and it's another face. It's like the face there's like 15 new faces created in it. Mm-hmm. It's so cool. But the best part of that scene is that it's such a slow, meticulous scene, but it's just all acting and cinematography, and it's so engaging, and it ends in the perfect way, where it cuts to the hologram advertisement.
It cuts to Ryan Gosling. He's like, no.
It cuts to hologram advertisement, which is I felt like so sad when it cut to that. It's like, I think the best
You really
themes-
care about this girl. When she died, I was very upset.
which is very weird when it cuts to like advertisements for her, because you realize this is just the same girl everyone has.
Yeah.
So that's where the question of humanity comes from, which is basically the same question as the movie Her, which is can you fall in love with an AI?
Yeah.
But it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And I love that scene. It's so engaging.
Now, on speaking about the sex robots, and they're the pleasure models. Well, no, these are holograms. The pleasure models are replicants.
Yeah, the holograms were like stay-at-home wives.
So a very stupid article came out, in my opinion, about an hour after the film was released,
Oh my God.
claiming how this film was misogynistic and it was sexist. It was titled, "Can we talk about a major thing in Blade Runner 2049?" And that's what they do nowadays. They name all these stupid articles. It's time to talk about. Let's talk about.
Denis Villeneuve is a sexist.
Essentially, that's what the article is saying. They're saying he's created a world that sees women as only sex slaves. And
Well, that's not even fair because they showed male pleasure models.
yes, and Ryan Gosling's direct superior is a woman who is a badass. And
There's great female characters.
the primary villain of the film is a badass woman.
I didn't particularly like this villain. I felt it was a weak villain. That's just me.
Yeah, she was kind of villainy. And the Joy character, she was a sex robot.
Like that Joy
she was
character
great.
was so awesome. I love how she like kept breaking.
Yeah.
And like every time he turned it on, there's like music played.
Yeah.
It felt like technology.
And the thing is, though, I think people confuse the writer's intentions with the world's intentions. So, Denis Villeneuve, did he write this?
No, he has no writing credits.
Who wrote this? The guy who wrote the first one wrote this, didn't he?
There's a few writers. I don't remember who it was, but the guy who wrote the first one.
The writers, let's say, for example, let's entertain the idea that this is a sexist world, the world in the future.
Yeah.
The writers are not sexist. Maybe
That's
the world they have created is. If the world they have created sees women as only sex objects, maybe that's a commentary on today's societies and where they think we're heading. The writers are not saying that. The world they have created is what's saying that.
There's a good example of this happening. It was with $1 Million Baby. Are you familiar with it?
I've never seen it.
Well, you know what the movie is, though, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the movie, girl gets paralyzed, and he asks her coach, spoilers, to kill
$1
her.
Million Baby, spoilers.
Yeah, he asks her to kill her. And after the movie came out, everyone was saying Clint Eastwood thinks paraplegics should be killed. When no, that's just what it made sense for the character.
Yes.
People are mistaking character and stories. Like
Character intentions are different than writer intentions.
when you go into a story, the point of going to the movies and going into a story is to escape, which means you should not connect anything that happens in a movie or a story to reality unless it's intentional. And if you do make those connections, don't say, oh, this person made this character a rapist. He thinks rape's okay. No, that's just what the character thinks.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I think there are certainly times where there are writers who have done things that are inappropriate and that promote ideas. I mean, I can't think of a film off the top of my head, but I mean, there are certain writers who shouldn't.
God's Not Dead 2.
I don't know what that is.
It's a movie where everyone says God's not dead, and religion rules.
Okay, so yeah, writer has an intention. Writer then puts that intention into the film, and he believes this, and he thinks this is good, this is okay. That's a little fucked up.
Yes.
But
it's very clear when that happens because it's very obvious.
yes, or it's the same as people calling Tarantino a racist because of his excessive use of the N-word in Django Unchained.
Before you say that, you have to first ask: is what you're arguing? Is it essential and makes sense for the story and the characters? If it doesn't, then you can complain.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Blade Runner,
everything makes perfect sense.
Yes,
it all fits.
The world he's created in the future, if everything is fully, basically no limitations of what we can do with artificial intelligence,
that's what would happen.
That's going to happen.
Like I saw that three-way scene, and I said, that's close to what we have today.
No, absolutely. I mean, there are like some pretty darn realistic sex dolls out there and whatnot.
Oh my God! Have you heard a crazy story?
I don't want to hear this story.
It's pretty. It was in Austria. It was like a technology convention, and someone brought like a sex robot, like the most realistic sex robot. And I don't remember what the article exactly was, but it was basically titled "Visitors at this convention brutally destroy sex robot by molesting it." It was very weird. But basically, at a technology convention, all these guys just kept up and molested this sex robot.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
So the film explores the idea of, is it okay to exploit an artificial intelligence?
Well, it's not even her. It's not exploiting the artificial intelligence.
Because she's programmed to love him.
Yes.
Programmed.
Is it true love if you're programmed to love someone?
Yes.
Like if you pay someone to love you, is it love?
Yeah.
It asks all these really complicated questions. That's why I love that it keeps cutting to these advertisements.
Yeah, so the whole point of the film is to generate this idea, to get us to think about, is this an ethical thing?
It asks, the movie is not about ethics. The movie is about what makes us human.
Yeah.
And what defines that. And that's where replicants come in.
There's only one scene where I genuinely think there should have been a male perspective, and there's a brilliant shot. They're inside this kind of like brothel, panning out of it, or it's like a dolly pushed forward, and the walls are kind of like faded frosted glass.
Yeah.
And you can see all these silhouettes of like all these women like getting it on.
I saw some men in there.
But yeah, so that's a great point actually. You don't know if the men's are replicants or not.
I distinctly saw male pleasure bots, and I might have seen a penis at one point.
So,
I don't know.
There's a lot of nudity in this film. And talking about that big giant advertisement.
Not equal nudity. We need more penis in our movies.
Yes, I think that's the next step towards equality. But
Not that I'm gay.
That's a joke, everybody.
Not
that was a
bad.
joke I made, by the way. Okay. But when the big Joy advertisement comes up
And like talks to him.
I think it's funny that she's called Joy, if you catch my drift. But
sex joke.
She comes up to him. What if someone had to walk their kid across that bridge from a sleepover or something, and he had to like?
Well, maybe it just plays at night, or maybe it plays in like a distinctly dirty part of town.
So your kid's at a sleepover and has a terrible nightmare, and he needs to be walked home.
In this.
Oh, Dad, look at this.
In this world, they might
breast coming at me.
To be fair, only people who live on Earth are people who are like have really high power or live in the slums.
Fair enough.
So they might not give a shit about slum kids.
Yeah. So anyways, that article really pissed me off because it came out so soon after the film was released.
It's basically people taking advantage of a movie's popularity and controversy and completely neglecting the point of the movie and the point of movies.
And the female characters are brilliant in this film. The male characters are brilliant. The child characters in this film are brilliant. There's not a damn thing wrong with the way
everything in this movie that you say is wrong is basically a personal nitpick. I don't think there's really anything in this movie that someone can say definitively this is bad.
I do think that comment is a little harsh on people that didn't like the film.
Well, no,
people are like, oh, it's boring. I think you are not really willing to put the time to invest into the story.
Yeah, the thing about this movie is that if you're invested, this movie grabs you.
Yes.
But the thing is, you have to be willing to be invested. This is not a movie where you go and you sit and it's like, explosions. That's not the kind of fucking movie this is.
Yeah.
This movie is, again, it's like Barry Lyndon, where if you are able to take a slower pace, and if you're able to get invested, then this movie will grab you.
But I can
due to its precision cinematography, especially in that Las Vegas scene.
Yeah, I can certainly see people coming to this film who are not super big movie buffs expecting a cool sci-fi pick.
Because the trailers are action. The trailers are presented as an action movie.
Yeah. But yeah, Harrison Ford also, that whole Vegas sequence.
So gorgeous.
That was the best acting Harrison Ford's done in his career.
I think the best acting from him was that the final fight scene was pretty good, but also that scene with him and Wallace was pretty good acting.
Oh, yeah.
That Rachel, though, oh my God. Grand Moff Tarkin sucks, okay? I hate Rogue One. I think Rogue One sucks.
I disagree a lot.
Rogue One is bad. But
Rogue One
Rachel,
is pretty good.
I did not get Uncanny Valley. I was looking for it. I got a little bit, ever so tiny, because I was looking for it.
Oh, yeah,
But
okay.
it looked
Grand Moff Tarkin comes out, and you're like, that's a really damn good CGI render. Rachel comes out, you're like,
Is that her?
What?
That's real.
it had to have been cropped archive footage.
I
or
have
something.
no idea how they did it, but it looks spotless.
Yeah, no. I
Once
think,
again, effects are so incredible.
yeah, it must have been archive footage that they meticulously cropped out and worked her into the scene. But yeah, Harrison Ford, I don't know if I talked about this already, but he just plays cool guy. Oh, Captain Millennium Falcon. Han Solo.
Suave.
Yeah, he plays just kind of
Ladies' man, stuff like that.
Indiana Jones, Han Solo, Air Force One. It's Blade Runner. In this film, he absolutely kills it. This performance is brilliant. It's almost like he's a character who's a person.
I know, it's crazy.
Which is rare for Harrison Ford. So, yeah, go see this film. I mean, I think everyone, if you're willing to get invested, you will love it. There's not a thing wrong with this film that is detrimental in any way.
Yeah.
And you vote with your ticket when you see films. Don't let this film go by and
be replaced by Transformers 24
yeah.
or Avatar 13.
Production companies, you vote with your ticket to production companies and what they produce. Don't let them think that this should be the end of big budget sci-fi, because it's not, and it's
we need more movies like this that are entertaining. This movie is entertaining, and are actually mean something. Because I don't care who you are, I don't care what you say, what you think of this movie. Even if you are a stupid person and a stupid general audience member, and you walk out of this and you slept the entire movie, other than when it woke you up because there's loud action, you're still going to walk out of this movie with the images in mind, and you're going to walk out thinking of this movie. No matter who you are, you'll think about the movie.
Yeah, it has ideas, depth, and heart, and it's
just like Transformers.
It's brilliant.